And also tonight, we're getting local reaction from the head of the New Hampshire Democratic Party.
WMUR political director Adam Sexton just spoke with Ray Buckley. Adam is live in Concord tonight with what he's saying. Adam.
Well, Marissa and Jen, so many major developments in such a short amount of time, it's starting to feel like these seismic political events are just the norm for the 2024 presidential race. But right now, the top Democratic Party official here in New Hampshire is very much closing ranks, along with President Biden, behind Vice President Harris. Chairman Buckley was one of several top party officials across the country, part of what is officially called the Executive Committee of the Association of State Democratic Committees, basically what anyone else would call a pillar of the party establishment. That group very quickly backed the president in throwing its support behind Vice President Harris. Chairman Buckley tells us he was prepared to support President Biden all the way through. But he says this was Biden's decision to make, and now that he's made it, he's going to honor his choice of endorsement. Now, he did tell us it is still possible there could be a contested convention, although he knows of no Democrat right now working behind the scenes to challenge Harris. There's already been a lot of upheaval already in this process, and as we spoke with Chairman Buckley about the difficulties of trying to establish a new campaign with so little time left on the clock before November.
I think that the vice president is remarkably equipped to lead this ticket. I think we've got a number of very exciting weeks coming forward. The convention is going to be phenomenal. But most of all, people want to really express their appreciation for President Biden and the work that he has done, not only as president, but the 8 years as vice president and those many decades in the U.S. Senate.
Now, the last time the Granite State saw Vice President Kamala Harris in person was April of 2021. In fact, Harris has kept such a profound distance from New Hampshire, the state finds itself in league with places like Idaho and Mississippi in terms of relative lack of attention from the vice president. That's not the norm for New Hampshire, which is usually the place where a lot of ambitious vice presidents and others want to come if they want to be president. A lot of that likely had to do with the Democratic Party fight with New Hampshire over the first in the nation primary. It will be very interesting to see if that stance from Vice President Harris changes in the weeks and months ahead. Reporting live in Concord, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.